This 2,060 square kilometers area of land along the border between Egypt and Sudan is known as Bir Tawil, which is apparently uninhabited, and no country wants to accept it. Still to this day, Bir Tawil remains unclaimed by both Egypt and Sudan. It's pretty sad that nobody wants this unlucky piece of land, which is basically bigger than London and New York, and nobody even wants to live here as it has absolutely zero population. What is so bad about this huge piece of land that neither Egypt nor Sudan wants to accept it? Let's find out in this video. Please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can stay updated with our latest videos. Bir Tawil, which means tall water well in Arabic. The history of the Bir Tawil goes back to the British occupation of Egypt and Sudan in 19th century, which were previously under the Ottoman control. After gaining control of both Egypt and Sudan, the British Empire decided to redraw the borders of both countries in a way that will benefit them the most in terms of global trade, weakening of Ottoman Empire, and strengthening its position around Suez Canal. The first attempt to redraw the boundaries in 1899 followed a similar pattern to how European powers drew up the rest of Africa, with straight lines and with little consideration for geographical, cultural, or ethnic differences. However, in a rare case of recognizing their own mistake, the British government quickly redrew the map in 1902. When these two maps were laid over each other, two newly created areas stood out. South of the original border was the Bir Tawil, and to the north was the Halaib Triangle. This is the most important part. To understand this topic, it is important to note that the Halaib Triangle is much more valuable with valuable resources, access to the Red Sea, and a fixed population. In contrast, the Bir Tawil is just a barren piece of land. In 1899 border mapping, the much more valuable Halaib Triangle was part of Egypt, and Bir Tawil was part of Sudan, while in 1902 border mapping, it's the opposite, meaning the valuable region is part of Sudan and barren piece of land, Bir Tawil, is part of Egypt. So after independence from British in 1956, Egypt recognized the 1899 border, whereas the newly formed Sudanese government opted for the redrawn 1902 boundary because both countries wanted the much more valuable Halaib Triangle. It became clear that if either claimed the Bir Tawil, they lose their claim on the triangle. The Bir Tawil therefore became terra nullius, unclaimed by any country. The first confrontation between the two countries came in 1958, when Sudan attempted to hold elections in the Halaib Triangle. Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser sent troops into the region in an attempt to boost nationalist fervor. After an international outcry, these troops quickly withdrew, and Sudan slowly built up its presence in the area, with the Halaib Triangle taking part in all Sudanese elections until the 1990s. With Sudan's administrative power weakening around the turn of the century, Egypt managed to gain control of Halaib, pouring plenty of resources into the region. Furthermore, the Egyptian government has continuously moved its administrative posts further south in the triangle, limiting access to materials coming to Sudan. These attempts to bureaucratically drain Sudanese influence out of the region have been largely successful, with little opposition from the United Nations or other African states. However, a key reason why Sudan will never fully leave the triangle is that the ethnic composition of Halaib is still much closer to that in Sudan. The region still remains disputed to this day, which should not be surprising because the British had a habit of causing such blunders, like the border dispute of Kashmir between Pakistan and India, the Durand Line dispute between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the creation of Israel, Tibet dispute between India and China, the Cyprus dispute, and several others. With the focus of Egypt, Sudan, and the international community on the Halaib Triangle, the Bir Tawil remains largely forgotten. A lack of development and attention meant both sides ignored it in their quest to secure the more valuable triangle and access to the east. The Bir Tawil therefore remains one of the only uninhabitable places in the world unclaimed by any recognized state.